Hello, friends. Friends of Standing Rock Protestors group. Friends of Water is Life group. Other friends who this may go to. Although I'm making this for the Standing Rock Protectors group, it might provide something for other groups that I'm honored to be a part of. So I've had requests to share a little bit about who I am as the one who founded the Standing Rock Protectors group. More importantly, I think, is why did I found the group? Why begin the group? So let me try to give a little bit on this. Feel free to ask questions, make comments afterwards. I've started by smudging already, so let me smudge each of you too. Nothing like some good sage to get things going in a good way. Myself, let me keep it fairly brief. I'm a grandfather now. You can probably tell. I've earned my gray hair, my white hair. I have always been involved with nature, always been involved with spiritual work, especially over the last 40 years or so. I've always been an activist as well as a teacher. My birthright is I am Romani Gypsy. My grandmother was a medicine woman in northern Italy, southern Switzerland area. The people on that side of my family were mostly shepherds, and they moved around with their flocks. My grandmother told me this right before she passed away, and then finally, many years later, Ancestry DNA work confirmed it. So the Romani Gypsies are one of the two places in the planet that shamanic work originated from. So shamanic work comes from my part of the world, my part of my heritage. I am also carrying other bloods. So my white and brown and olive blood from my Mediterranean side also has some red blood in there. I am a member of the United Western Lenape tribe due to my Native American blood. And I have some other little smatterings of blood in there, small numbers, small amounts. So I am truly a mongrel, and I am very proud of that. I've been adopted by several other groups, families of different cultures that I've worked with. I traveled around for 30 plus years, learning from various indigenous cultures. And I've been gifted with a lot of knowledge, which I hope still sits in here. My goal is to make sure I give it all out to the young ones before I leave. My trying right now is to be here and help us get through this intense time we're in that we were taught about, many of us would be coming, and it's here. Activism. Boy, I've been an activist since I was a teen. I protested Vietnam War. I marched with Dr. King. I helped with some of the original women's rights issues. So I did a lot back when I was too young, pretty much, to have a full sense of what I was doing. Over the years, as I say, I've worked in nature, worked in spiritual things. There's strong connection to nature and to the ancestors and to all I've learned from the different cultures and the teachings I've been given. Over the last 5 or 6 years, I've concentrated on climate change issues, problems, the existential threat that it has for all of we humans, not to mention all the rest of life that we're putting at risk. I guess it started primarily with Standing Rock, this group. Why did I start this group? Boy, that's a great question. I was watching, I'd heard a little bit about what was going on in Standing Rock. Back then, no one knew anything. This is right in the beginning. So I'm watching the media to find out more, and I'm seeing next to nothing. What I do see, I know is not accurate, just from what I know up from that area. And so I thought to myself one night, maybe the ancestors put it there. I don't know. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, boy, maybe we can do better. Is there any way we can help get the word out on what's going on there? So the next day, I called some friends in Pine Ridge, and I asked them, who should I get hold of? Who should I try to contact up there in Standing Rock? I was given LaDonna Howard's name. I was given a couple other names. It took a little while. Meanwhile, I started the group. So this was right at the beginning. There was nothing online about Standing Rock yet. I started the group and I put it out there. I put the description. This was about Standing Rock. This is to give some true coverage to what's going on and quite a bit more. And wanted to see what would happen. Well, people just started joining up right away. I heard from LaDonna shortly thereafter, just a short conversation we had. And I said, well, would this be helpful? And she said, yes, indeed. I said, could I come up there and stay a while? And she said, yes, there's always room. And that was it. People started joining up really, really quickly. I mean, 10 a day, 20 a day, 100 a day, 200 a day. It took on that kind of life. So I added 3 other people who I asked. People who, when I went inside deeply, these are the ones who came to me. These are the ones whose names appeared to me. I didn't know any of them well at that time. I knew some through social media. Yeah, Diane, Francine, and Mei-Ling. So it was we 4. And it became almost a 24-hour a day job to keep things straight. It started growing so quickly, we quickly added other people. We tried to do all we could to find out what we could. I would contact people up in Standing Rock and Pine Ridge and up in the Egan area there. So did some of the other admins. We tried to honestly and truthfully put out there what was going on. Not too long later, a few months later, my wife and I went up. We had an old RV that had trouble sometimes, but we went up, we made it. We went through the blocks, the roadblocks. We went through the armed military folks standing there at the checkpoints, leaning up in our windows, leaning with their rifles, semi-automatic rifles, stuck inside the window, telling them we were traveling through. That's all we told them. We decided not to tell them anything else. Watching them take down our license plate, as they did everyone at that point. And we went in, and we went into Sacred Stone, LaDonna Howard's camp, and Miles, her husband, another wonderful energy. We stayed for a while. We sat with Miles and LaDonna, and I asked LaDonna, what else can I do? How can I do this, LaDonna? And she said to me to do whatever it takes to get the word out there. Speak to whoever you need to. Ask what's going on. We asked permission to interview people and record it. And she was not, in general, Standing Rock was not allowing much of that. She gave us press passes and said, yes, if people are willing to talk to you, please do that and put them up. And so we made that part of our mission. We spent the evening talking around the fire with the 2 of them and some other people who, we all came and went. It was an incredible time up there for those who did not get up there. We were all mixed, all different people. We couldn't even understand the language of some of those. We had some people from France on one side. There were some Sami people who had just come to camp on the other. We spent almost all our time in Sacred Stone Camp, although we did go over into the main camp to record some folks there as well and to see what was going on, and some of those small little mini camps along the way. It was a very powerful time. We came back I was even more committed to what I was doing with the group. I think we had about 10 admins by then, and somewhere over 300,000 members was where we were going. I don't know where we were at that point, maybe 150. Not too long later, some attacks started, which didn't surprise us too much. Attacks to us, those of us who were working in the virtual realm, as well as, the ones that were going on in the camp, which we saw firsthand. Stories being made up, lies being told. They did not want the word they. Who's they? I don't know. The establishment, whoever you want to paint them. Fossil fuel industry for sure. Did not want word going out. They had people on the inside and the outside who did this to a lot of people, people who were up there in the camp, people who you all know. Unfortunately, that is part of it. It's still part of the battle. I know stories were made up about myself and others who I know who were up there that were completely false. But again, that's what it is. If people want to believe that stuff, it's up to them. The stories we recorded and the stories we heard and the things we saw were nothing but positive, beautiful. We talked to people who came there to help for a little while and they stayed, helped build Sacred Stone. We talked to those who were out on the ponies. We heard from those who saw the buffalo roam in. I mean, on and on and on. It was just an incredible experience. That is what it is all about. Out of that, we started the Water is Life movement group, and people flowed into there. Our job was to get the message out and to watch other protest movements, protection movements. And boy, that sure has happened. That definitely has happened. It's going to happen more. It's happening now with climate change in a big way. We need now to come together, is what I see. Bring everybody together. Forget about all the old nonsense, we'll deal with that as people. But to start to add our energies, as I like to say, as all these good things that are going on, all these efforts, all these people marching. I'm watching the young people in wonder. They're so incredible. If we can join them all together, we no longer have a bunch of small streams. We have one huge rushing river, and that river will move every boulder out of its way. So that's a little bit about me. More importantly, that's where the group came from, my thoughts on the group. I'd like to hear what you all have to say. We're following now some of the water issues in India. We're trying to get some more information in the Amazon. We're in South America, Central America, Africa. These stories need to be told. We need to capture the stories. We need to hear the stories of the elders. We need to hear the stories of the young. This is the time of change. This is the critical point in human life here on this planet. We will either live or die based on what we do now. Our grandchildren and their grandchildren, on to the 7 generations, will have a wonderful life or a horrible life based on what we do now. So let's capture these things. Let's capture the stories. Let's get them out there and let's all work together. I thank each and every one of you for being part of this group. Sometimes you probably don't agree with what we do. Sometimes we don't agree, all of us, with what we do. We are doing our best, to be sure of that, and we will always do that. We will focus primarily on climate change, of course, on Standing Rock and similar efforts, but occasionally we add other things because they are so critical. What we won't do is become a melting pot for every idea in the universe. There's a lot of those groups out there, and I think they're wonderful, but that's not what we are. It's not what we are. We are a place of unity now. So thank you if you actually listened to all this. Thank you for hearing me, the whole story. Whatever you heard was what you need to hear. And we are here for you. Share with us. Thank you. Bye.